Load shedding is underway and it will continue until Sunday evening. Last month, South Africans experienced load shedding after Eskom failed to bring back some of its units following online maintenance. Eskom says the system remains vulnerable and unpredictable. It says any further breakdowns would force it to escalate the rolling blackouts. Well, Eskom has suggested that this latest bout of load shedding is linked to wet coal. The coal could not get into generating units at its Medupi power station, resulting in them being shut down. To discuss, we're joined by energy specialist Chris Yelland tonight. Chris, thank you for being with us. Eskom has said repeatedly that the system is vulnerable, so I guess we can't be shocked, even though we want to be, that this is happening yet again.
Yeah, no, we're not shocked. We can expect this intermittent load shedding to be on and off for the next 2 years. That's what we've been told loud and clear. And, you know, if it's not wet coal, it's hot weather. If it's not hot weather, it's rainy weather, windy weather, whatever. Wet coal, dry coal, you name it. All manner of excuses. But bottom line is that we have a power system that is really not showing the necessary resilience. It is completely abnormal that normal kind of summer rainy weather should cause a massive outage of one of the biggest power stations in South Africa. You know, one can expect snowfalls and wind and hail to maybe knock out some distribution lines or transmission line, but to knock out a power plant, a 4,800 megawatt power plant in Medupi, is very, very unusual and not what should happen at all.
Because of wet coal, and last time it was conveyor belts that broke, and I'm sure these are massive conveyor belts, but I was asking Eskom, in the big scheme of things, surely that's a low cost to maintain conveyor belts. I don't know, but if you look at all of this, like you say, the small triggers that can cause big consequences, are you concerned about how Eskom is being managed currently, or does it make sense? Is it all fair enough that these sorts of things will happen because of the history and because it'll take a lot of money and time to fix?
Well, yeah, I do think this is a legacy of poor management in the past, and the current management are sitting with, for example, designs at Medupi and Kusile that they really had nothing to do with. These designs were done many, many years ago, and we're just facing the consequences now and having to fix design problems, execution problems, things like conveyors failing. You know, there should be a level of redundancy. You should not be in the hands of one conveyor or even two conveyors, which could shut down an entire power station. Because let's just say you have two conveyors feeding coal into the power station. One could be under maintenance, normal routine maintenance, and the other one could trip. So you really need a triple redundant system to really give oneself the security one needs. Now, of course, this comes at an extra price, but the cost of not having power is much, much higher than the cost of an extra redundancy built into the system.
All right, so time and money. According to people who are looking at this, Chris, this problem will be around for years. Eskom suggesting that as well. In that case, the question is Eskom being fully transparent here about how bad it is, and is government as well? If load shedding is going to be normal for years to come, that affects our growth projections, that affects the economy. It will affect investment in South Africa. As far as I know, we're still telling foreigners that we're open for business. We're not warning them about energy supply. Is there a real recognition of the problem and real transparency?
Well, I think the levels of transparency at Eskom are better than we've ever had it before. That's not to say it's fully transparent, but they have instituted a web portal now where one can see the performance of the power system in much more detail than before. It's far from what is done internationally, but it's a hell of a lot better than what ever was done before. I mean, one of the disadvantages of this system, this portal, information portal, is it doesn't display information in real time. It displays it one day in arrears. So you don't know what's happening right now. You do know what was happening yesterday. But I think step by step, Eskom is becoming more transparent, and I do think that the CEO and the COO are raising the red flag very loud and clear now to the Department of Public Enterprises, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, to Treasury and to the Cabinet about the very, very serious state that South Africa is in, because we haven't procured new generation capacity. Not 1 kilowatt of new generation capacity has been procured since the Integrated Resource Plan for Electricity was published in November 2019. And none of these procurements, if they are procured and when they are procured, and they are expected to be procured this year, they're not going to come on stream for 3 years, 2 to 3 years at least. And so there's a huge gap that has to be filled. And the only way the gap can be filled in the short term is for customers to take ownership of their own energy future and to become part of the solution by installing self-generation and procurements from distributed generators to their systems to supplement grid electricity from Eskom.
So what do you want the President, for example, to say in the upcoming State of the Nation address?
Well, we're getting the message loud and clear now from the CEO of Eskom and many others. In fact, Busa issued a statement yesterday. So business, the Mineral Council of South Africa have issued a statement, and they're all saying one thing, and that is we need to lift the limit on licensing of generators. Currently, anything above 1 megawatt needs a license from NERSA, and these licenses are extremely onerous. For example, the requirements for a license for a 1.1 megawatt system are the same requirements for a license for a 4,000 megawatt system. Yeah. So they're completely inappropriate. And the pressure now is coming loud and clear from all players that this limit should be lifted from 1 megawatt to 50 megawatt, so that only installations above 50 megawatt need a license. This will open the door to self-generation as well as arm's length procurements by customers from independent power producers in a way that will really enable this distributed generation from coming into force. And studies that have been done, including a survey that my company, EE Business Intelligence, did, show that one can bring on at least 5,000 megawatts in the very short term. There's a significant appetite for this if this regulatory process and the burden associated with it was reduced.
Very quickly, what also about the legacy issue? There's been a compact signed in NEDLAC to fix Eskom's debt problem. I mean, it's lumped with this huge burden. Looking at the numbers, it just seems unsustainable. It can't build stations when so much money needs to be paid back. Now, no one knows where the money will come from, possibly pensions. But is that legacy issue being dealt with fast enough?
Certainly not fast enough. You know, the Eskom roadmap, also published in November 2019, identified Eskom's debt as the biggest threat to the economy and to Eskom and to the country. So since then, there have been various proposals and ideas put on the table. And I have no doubt that behind the scenes, a lot of thinking work and discussion work is taking place. But the reality is that as of now, there is no solution that is put on the table. It seems that no decisions have actually yet been reached. And this threat then continues. So something has to be done about it, because Eskom is now borrowing money at much higher interest rates to pay back debt that is maturing at lower interest rates. So the cost is just going up, and we're in what is known as a debt spiral, where you borrow money to pay back debt at a higher interest rate.
All right. Thank you very much, Energy Specialist Chris Yelland. And just a reminder, if you missed it, Stage 2 load shedding, Eskom says, will continue until Sunday.